Hi, friends. After church this past Sunday, when we read from John chapter 12, several of you asked the same question. You said, so did Jesus actually say yes to meeting with the Greeks? You see, the passage that we read started like this. It said, now there were some Greeks among those who went up to worship at the feast in Jerusalem. They came to Philip, one of the disciples who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, with a request. Sir, they said, we would like to see Jesus. Philip went and told Andrew, another one of the disciples. Andrew and Philip in turn went and told Jesus. So they go to Jesus and they say, there are these Greeks who want to see you. And then Jesus, in response, launches into this discourse, this theological thing that he says, and he doesn't at any point say yes or no to meeting with the Greeks. And for us, this is really strange because we're like looking at it and we think this is what the story is. But what we don't realize is John, the author, is actually trying to answer a very different question than the one we're asking. We're asking the question, did Jesus say yes or no to meeting them? John is asking a different question, and that's what he's trying to answer here. So I don't know where you are right now. If you are somewhere where you can grab a Bible, go ahead and do it. Open to John chapter 12. Verse 19, that's the passage that immediately precedes this. That's where the context is for us. If you're on the go and you don't have a Bible with you, that's okay, or you can open one online just to kind of take a look at it. But this is what I want to show you, is that in the passage immediately preceding this, Jesus had just entered into Jerusalem with his triumphal entry. This is what we celebrate on Palm Sunday, which is this coming week. Can you believe how quickly Palm Sunday has approached us? So this Sunday, we're going to celebrate Palm Sunday, and that is actually the passage right before the one that we read last week. So Jesus comes into Jerusalem, and we're told that there are all these people in Jerusalem who are wanting to see Jesus, and the reason they want to see him is because they heard what he had just done in the previous chapter. He had raised this guy named Lazarus from the dead. And so all these people are interested in meeting Jesus and seeing him. They're looking for him. And in verse 19, it says that the Pharisees, this is kind of the opposition group. These are the religious leaders who were really threatened by Jesus. They say this, verse 19, they say, see, this is getting us nowhere. This is an expression of frustration. This is getting us nowhere. Look how the whole world has gone after him. The whole world, this word cosmos in Greek. So it's encompassing not just all of Jerusalem and everyone there, like the crowd that's there, but cosmos. We're talking about all of the people everywhere. So they're saying, look how everybody is coming to him. And immediately afterwards, we get the next passage, which is the one we started off with this morning. Now, there were some Greeks among those who went up to Jerusalem for the feast. And so they want to see Jesus too. What John is trying to show us is that this message about Jesus, because of what he has done, because of the raising Lazarus from the dead, and all of the amazing miracles that he is accomplishing and his reputation that is preceding him, that now even people outside of the Jewish community are catching wind of this and they're wanting to come see Jesus. That's the point why John puts the Greeks in there. But it becomes even more interesting than that. So John has just proven the words of the Pharisees true. The Pharisees are saying, look, the whole world is coming to him. And John says, and yes, and even the Greeks, the non-Jews who are coming into Jerusalem, they're starting to seek after Jesus. But then Jesus' response, which seems somewhat disconnected from this context, is actually so remarkable. Because what Jesus says when Philip and Andrew come to him to say, look, these Greeks want to see you, is he says, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. And what John is trying to argue here, and what we know about John is that his gospel is the most theological of all of the gospels. So he is less interested in chronology as much as he is interested in the theology of of Jesus and this person whom John portrays as God in our midst. What he's trying to show here is that Jesus as a human has just reached his limitation. So unless a seed falls into the ground and dies, it remains a single seed. So Jesus is looking at the spread of this thing, and he's saying, this is not going to move forward unless there's a way for me as one person to be accessible to all people. And what Jesus knows is that as one man, he can't do that. And so he talks about this theological piece about his death, which is that if he dies, that creates somehow a space for much fruit to be born. And so there's something mysterious, again, in John's very high Christology and theology. There's something mysterious about the death of Christ and what that opens the door to. And so for Jesus, in John's words here, somehow there is a way for Jesus to actually become accessible to all people and to be able to meet all people who want to see him. And that is by doing what he's about to do. So he's going to die. He's going to rise again. Of course, the readers know this. He's going to rise again, and somehow that's going to open the door to everyone being able to access Jesus. And so we have this little piece in there where we're like, okay, wow, so why would John go into the detail of these Greeks finding Philip and then Philip finding Andrew if all he's trying to say is these Greeks wanted to see Jesus and Jesus goes into this theology piece? Why the complication of who they go to find? And I think that's where John wants to land us, is that yes, Jesus is saying he's going to become accessible to all, but the way that people are going to come to Jesus is actually through us. They're going to find us who are accessible. Philip, we know, is one of the only disciples who had a Greek name, and so they go to someone accessible to them, and then Philip has to figure this out with another disciple, like, wow, what do we do? More and more people are coming outside of the Jewish community. And if you fast forward to the book of Acts, you see that the disciples had to wrestle with the same question. When the non-Jews started to want to accept Jesus, they had to talk about, how do we do this? What are the different pieces that we have to impose upon them or not impose upon them? Like, do we have to make them Jews first before they can become a part of this thing that we're a part of? And they wrestle with that, and they end up deciding, no, Jesus is accessible to all people just the way they are. So that's something that happens in Acts. But here we have this amazing foreshadowing in this Gospel of John. The Greeks come to Jesus. They're fulfilling this prophecy that the Pharisees are noticing. The whole world is coming to Jesus. There's nothing we can do about it to shut it down. And then Jesus says, there is a way for all people to come to me. And that's the journey, the path that I'm going on. And that's going to make me accessible to all people. But still, they're going to have to go through you, who are going to have to make me known to them. So a beautiful, wonderful theological piece that answers a different question than the one we were asking. Does Jesus meet with them right there? No. Maybe. Who knows? Yes. But the question John is answering is, how does Jesus become truly accessible to the whole world? Thanks, St. John's. I love this journey that we're in, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday for Palm Sunday.